The wind swept across the wide Wyoming plains like a whisper of forgotten dreams, carrying with it the soft hush of Christmas morning snowfall. On the ridge above the Miller homestead, the world looked washed in quiet white, peaceful yet painfully empty. For most ranchers, Christmas meant family gathered around warm oak tables and laughter echoing across timber walls. But for Jesse Hartwell, the wealthiest rancher in 3 counties and the loneliest man for miles, it was just another day of riding fence lines, tending stock, and trying to outrun memories that still clung like winter frost on his chest. His sprawling ranch, thousands of acres of untouched snow, felt more like a kingdom with no air, a house with no footsteps, a life with no warmth. He had everything a man could buy, and nothing a man truly needed. Jesse guided his white mare, Daisy, along the trail between the distant ranches, checking on properties abandoned by the blizzard the night before. The sky glowed with a soft gold as dawn stretched across the horizon. He passed the Miller cabin, a small weather-bitten place he hadn't visited in nearly a year, and slowed when he saw smoke only barely trickling from its chimney instead of the usual steady plume. Before he could think much of it, he heard the sound, a small wavering cry slicing the silence. He straightened in the saddle, scanning the yard, when he saw them. 2 tiny girls, no more than 4 years old, standing barefoot on the fence rail, their little red wool dresses dusted white, their curls tangled from cold wind. Their cheeks were flushed from crying, their small hands shook. And then one of them lifted her trembling arm toward him. In her fist was a folded scrap of paper. Jesse dismounted instantly, snow crunching under his boots as he approached. He saw now that the twins were mirror images, same golden curls, same wide blue eyes full of fear and hope, same tear-stained cheeks. One clung to the fence as if the world might slip away if she let go. The other held out the paper like it was her last chance. Mister, the braver twin whispered, swallowing hard. Can you send this? It's for Santa." Jesse knelt in the snow, slowly, gently. "For Santa, huh?" he murmured, his voice softening in a way it hadn't in years. The little girl nodded vigorously as tears spilled again. "It's urgent," she said, her lip quivering, repeating a word she clearly didn't fully understand but knew mattered. "He needs to get it today." Jesse took the note carefully. The paper was warm from her hand and smudged by little fingers. Inside, the handwriting was messy, clearly done by someone much older. He glanced past the girls and his pulse kicked. On the porch, sitting slumped against the doorframe, was their mother, a young woman wrapped in a thin blanket, eyes closed, skin pale from cold and exhaustion. She wasn't moving. Jesse's voice tightened. "Girls, where's your mama?" The quieter twin pointed with a shaking hand. "Mama wouldn't let us be cold. She put her blanket on us last night, but she got real tired." A flash of panic surged through Jesse as he jumped over the fence and sprinted to the porch. He knelt beside the mother. She was breathing, barely, but she was weak, nearly frozen. The night must have been brutal, and whatever storm damage hit their cabin had wiped out any chance of heat. He shouted over his shoulder, "Girls, stay right there. Mama's gonna be okay." The twins clung to each other, crying but hopeful now that someone stronger had arrived. Jesse lifted their mother gently in his arms. She felt impossibly light, too light, like she'd poured all her strength into keeping her daughters warm. He wrapped her in his thick coat and carried her to Daisy. But before he mounted, the braver twin tugged his pant leg. Mister, did Santa get our letter?" Her voice was so fragile it nearly broke him. Jesse crouched again, brushing a tear from her cheek with a thumb. "Sweetheart, I'll make sure Santa sees this before the sun goes down. You have my word." Both girls threw their arms around his neck, small, desperate hugs that melted a piece of his heart he thought had died long ago. He lifted them onto the horse behind their mother, secured them with extra blankets from his saddlebag, then climbed himself. The twins hugged the woman tightly as Jesse spurred Daisy into a swift trot toward his ranch, the only place within miles with a doctor, a warm fire, and plenty of food. As the cabin shrank behind them, the snowfall thickened, swirling like the sky itself was watching over them. Jesse glanced back at the letter tucked in his coat pocket. For a moment, he wondered what a child could possibly ask Santa on such a cold and hopeless morning. When the words came to him, messy, childlike, but stabbing straight into his chest, he inhaled sharply. "Dear Santa, we don't want toys. We don't want treats. Please just send someone to help Mama. She is all we have." Jesse closed his eyes. On that morning, on that lonely ride, something inside him shifted. For the first time in years, he wasn't alone. Jesse's ranch had never felt so alive. The moment he galloped into the yard, his ranch hands hurried over, shocked at the sight. 2 barefoot little girls clinging to blankets, and an unconscious mother cradled against Jesse's chest. He barked quick orders, sharper than he'd meant, but fear makes men loud. Within minutes, the fire in the great hall roared to life. Blankets warmed, water boiled, and Jesse carried the mother into the guest room near his own quarters. The twins watched everything with trembling hope, clutching each other tightly as the housekeeper wrapped them in wool and fed them warm broth. Their red dresses were still damp, their curls wild, but their little faces slowly softened in the heat of the firelight. While the doctor tended to the mother, confirming she'd collapsed from exhaustion, cold, and hunger, Jesse sat with the twins by the hearth. Their eyes followed him everywhere, trusting him in a way that felt both humbling and terrifying. He had spent years avoiding people, avoiding connections, avoiding anything that might tether him to pain again. But these 2 tiny girls sat beside him like he was the only safe thing left in the world. When the doctor finally emerged from the bedroom hours later, Jesse jumped to his feet. "Tell me straight." "She'll live," the doctor said, removing his gloves. "She's strong, just pushed past her limits to protect the girls. She needs rest, food, warmth, but she'll wake soon." The twins both exhaled in relief, leaning against Jesse's legs as if he were a wall holding their world steady. By evening, the storm outside stopped, leaving the ranch wrapped in a calm, glowing silence. The twins sat on Jesse's lap, watching the fire crackle. They didn't speak much, only whispered questions about their mother and whether Santa got their letter. Jesse reached into his vest and pulled out the folded paper. "You know," he said softly, "this letter of yours, it made it farther than you think." Both girls looked up, wide-eyed. "I think," Jesse continued, "that maybe Santa wanted someone to help you who was nearby, someone who could get to you faster than he could in the snow. Someone like me." The braver twin whispered, "Are you Santa's helper?" He chuckled, a sound he hadn't made in years. "Tonight? Yeah, I reckon I am." The girls hugged him again, tiny arms squeezing with surprising strength, their trust wrapped around his tired soul like another kind of blanket. Later that night, just before Christmas evening faded into Christmas night, the mother finally woke. Jesse was beside her. Her eyes fluttered open, confused, frightened at first, until she saw her daughters asleep nearby, warm and safe in soft quilts. Tears swelled in her eyes. "You saved them," she whispered, voice hoarse. Jesse shook his head. "They saved themselves. They went looking for help. I just happened to ride by." "No," she said, trembling. "You answered their prayer." Jesse felt something tighten in his throat. He had no words. Over the next day, the ranch filled with quiet warmth, laughter from the twins, gentle conversations with their mother, the smell of stew, fresh bread, wood smoke. Jesse had not felt this kind of home not since before loneliness carved into him. On Christmas night, the twins gave him a new letter, written carefully with help from their recovering mother. "Read it," the braver twin said shyly. Jesse unfolded it. "Dear Santa, thank you for sending us the rancher. Please don't take him back. We need him, and we think he needs us too." He blinked hard, swallowing emotion he wasn't used to letting out. That night, sitting by the fire with the twins curled beside him and their mother smiling softly from across the room, he realized the truth. He had been rich for years, but he had never been blessed until now.